have been, even though I have been made aware that Lee is on his way, we'll go ahead and start the meeting at 5:02, call the meeting to order. We're going to open with the Pledge of Allegiance. We pledge allegiance to the flag
of
of
the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's very odd when it kicks back.
It is. I'm gonna mute everybody, so you can unmute yourself when you have something to say, if that's all right, just so that we're not having quite so much feedback.
Okay, is there currently any adjustments to the agenda?
No, ma'am.
Perfect. Public to speak on a non-agenda item?
No,
There's no
ma'am.
one in the room. All right, review of minutes of the October 19th, 2022 regular meeting. We'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
And is there a second?
Second, I'm sorry, I was muted.
It's okay, thank you, Nancy. All right, any discussion? Okay, so all those in favor in the room, I will raise my hand, and if you could each just indicate aye from Zoom land.
Aye.
Perfect, thank you so much. Okay. We have no correspondence, correct?
No correspondence.
Continuing business, we have nothing continuing on our agenda right now. So let's move into new business, which is the comp plan discussion. So really quick, my idea was to just go over the comp plan and the directives that we are responsible for as the ordinance committee. As the ordinance committee, we cannot take any task upon ourselves. We have to be directed by the Board of Selectmen or the planning board per somebody's.
These are bylaws.
Is it our bylaws? Yeah. I was gonna say, somebody's bylaws say it. I know, I've seen it. So my thought process was to get something in front of us to work on, to go ahead and go through what we should be working on or what we're responsible for, and then take that list to the Board of Selectmen and ask them what they think should be in front of us right now so that we can have something to work on. Otherwise, we kind of sit stagnant and wait for them to send us something. And I just didn't want us to do that. I wanted us to kind of keep moving on what we're tasked with in the comp plan. So if you would each just offer your ideas and suggestions, we will get those down in the minutes, then we'll get a letter to the Board of Selectmen and we'll see what we are scheduled to work on for the next meeting. That.
Okay, so I went through this thing that's got all the colors on it because it says the blue is us. So it was easy to tell what was in our wheelhouse. And the thing I thought we should work on was the page 2. The first blue item, which says attract and expand low businesses that can provide good quality year-round employment, which we really don't have the problem with, but we need housing. That's the thing we need, because we have plenty of employers. We don't have any employees. So we don't need to attract new businesses until we can house them.
I'm sorry, Val, the second one on page 2?
The first one,
Oh, the first one.
where it
Okay.
says expand and attract new businesses, but we need housing. That, and I think it comes in further along, which I think is on the 3rd page at the top. It says encourage adequate workforce, which also needs housing. So my suggestion, which I've,
Oh, okay, I see what you're reading. Okay, I was reading the wrong one. I was reading action strategy. Sorry.
yeah, it says responsible blue, and then it gives you this big white space to put in there. And so I just said, consider in that number 3, page 3 at the top. I said, consider tiny houses, less than 600 square feet. 600 square feet is huge. And at $300 a square foot, it is out of the reach of a workforce. So we need to have smaller square footage allowed to be built for workforce housing. People are sort of into that. It's a cool thing now. It's easier to take care of. You see a lot of big houses that are inadequately cared for, painted, roofs falling in. It'd be easier to take care of a smaller house, cost less. So that's my thing. And I think it sort of repeats itself further along. Let's see. Number 2, what's that say? And okay, that's pretty much what I think we should be working on. The others, it says, the other thing would be on page 12 of that multicolored thing, and it says, at the very bottom, it says maintain connectivity to the snowmobile trail system. And I said, yes, but you have to figure out like a standard right of way, or maybe this is more something the snowmobile club has to do, but we should, it's not necessarily us because they maintain the trails. Maybe we could make them a blanket right of way that they could just take to people. I don't know.
Well, I like your idea of the snowmobile one, only because there are people who come here seasonally or part-time, second homes, or their Airbnbs, and they cut through people's
Right.
properties
Right.
and actually take down signs and fences because they feel they have the right to, because it's always been there. And it's causing a lot of discord of the communities and the residents that live here. So I think that is definitely one to put on a priority because our snowmobile season is coming up. Don't know if this would be relevant for this year, but definitely, I mean, we've even had people ask, you know, can they put fences up on their own property? And like, yeah, you could put fences up on your own property as long as it fits the, you know, the requirement or whatever. And they're like, well, people take it down when they come with their snowmobiles. So, which is, you know, very disheartening. And I do like the idea of the looking at housing. Just don't know where or how that would be supported, but you know,
Well, really,
you gotta have the people to, it's the chicken and the egg, or the egg and the chicken. You gotta have the people employed to get the housing, but you gotta have the housing to employ the people.
right. So we need the housing first because we have plenty of jobs. We don't have people to work them.
Okay, so taking into consideration the suggestions that you've made, I don't know if you've noticed that under action strategies, each of these do indicate that they should be addressed in land use ordinances. So have you had the opportunity to look at the land use ordinance and see where these suggested changes may filter in? Knowing that we are currently working on chapter 38 zoning right now at the Board of Selectmen Planning Board level.
Where can you find the land ordinance? The land use.
All of it is
ordinance?
available on the
I asked-
website. All of it is available on the town website.
On the town website, okay, because I
Yes.
had asked for a copy of it and was told that it was already done. But I realized that I just wanted a copy of it.
All available ordinances are, and policies, right? Policies, yeah. So all town policies and ordinances are available on the website.
And I misunderstood you, Nancy. I thought you wanted to work on it, not that you wanted to review it.
No, I just wanted to read it.
I can email that to you as well.
Okay, thank you.
So do you want me to find where the square footage requirements are that I'm talking about? Because it says in the land use housing ordinance, it says 600 square feet is the minimum on one floor, which I think is unreasonable.
That's actually not an unreasonable amount. 600 is not very big.
600
that's
is,
It's not
like-
very big at all.
it's
that's 20 by
big if
30,
you're trying to
that's all it
afford
is.
it. And it costs $300 a square foot to build it, is what I'm saying. And there are plenty of people that live in less than that. And if they want to buy a house and you want to house people, tiny
I'm sorry,
houses
I've
are
been
200 to
I've been looking
400
at
square
homes
feet.
and 600 is minuscule. I apologize, but it is not that big. A standard ranch goes 800 to 1,000. So 600 is talking, a 20 by 20 is 400 square
Right.
feet.
It is. It is.
And that's going to give you very
Studio.
small rooms.
I know it's
studio.
going to give you small rooms, but people have to be able to afford where they need to live. And if we want to house people in Rangeley, we have to allow for people to build what they can afford.
So are we talking just for clarification, Val, that someone would build them, a third party would build them and then a worker would come in and buy it?
That
what you're
or
saying?
rent it or whatever. But the point is that the stuff that's available now at $600, 600 square feet at $250 to $300 a square foot, which is what it costs to build, nobody can build that and be a worker. You can be a second homeowner. You can be a retiree with lots of money, but you can't be a worker.
I don't know of any 600 square foot homes that have been built up here. They're all bigger than that.
I know
all
that
bigger
because
than
they're all built by second homeowners. Because I'm talking about what it costs to build per square foot. Because nobody can afford to build $300 a square foot, 600 square, that's
180,000.
no, it's not 180,000. $300 a square foot. Anyway,
That's, I don't know where you're getting the 300. I've talked to builders and it's closer to 200, but that's
That's what
not the
Smokey
issue.
said
The
last
issue
time.
is we're looking at, do we have to, does the ordinance restrict the size of a home that can be built? That's the issue.
Yes, it
right? I mean,
does.
and so the issue is, should we change that restriction? That's what you want us to look at.
yes,
Okay, I appreciate
that's what I
that.
want. Yes, I would like it to be allowed to be smaller so that people could build something they could afford to live in. Or a builder could come in and build something that he could afford to charge a reasonable rent for.
Okay, so right now there is a higher limit. Is that what I'm understanding?
There's
You
a limit
cannot
of
build something that
600
small
600 square feet on one floor.
on one,
That's the minimum. If it was just 600 square feet, so you could divide it between 2 floors, that would be more reasonable. But it's 600 square feet on one floor.
And Val, is it your understanding that that's in our zoning ordinance or in the new state building codes?
That's in our ordinance. I don't know about the state building codes.
Okay. Because
we
I would be concerned that we can't go less than the state building code. We would
Right,
have to
but-
check into that first.
Right, but we do have in our building codes, that if you're rehabbing an old place, 4 apartments, you could be as small as 500. So even if that was, and it doesn't say on one floor. If it says 500 and it didn't say one floor, then we'd be across the board consistent. And obviously that's okay with the state because that's what we have. So, yeah.
So really quick, I'm just gonna check with Marty on something. Marty, these restrictions are within chapter 38, are they not?
They are currently, and I believe that is something that was being discussed between the board of selectmen and the planning board regarding tiny homes at the last
Okay,
workshop.
and I thought we had brought up tiny homes at the last workshop, so I'm not sure, or even at the one before. I wasn't at the last one, sorry.
It was the last one, Jim Dugan was it.
Perfect.
Second.
So I know that it is being discussed already. My concern is after this meeting is another chapter 38
I
Board
know.
of Selectmen meeting. And this is being pushed to be put in front of the town meeting for June. So I don't know that, I almost wonder if you are strong, you feel strongly about this restriction. If that's something you shouldn't just make sure you attend the next meeting too. I'm so sorry, Val.
I'm gonna be at the next meeting because I wanted to
Perfect.
be there for the
Perfect.
sign. Because my understanding is now, because we were talking about dividing up the chapter 38 into sections, but you're gonna try to pass it en masse. Is that what the plan is?
That is my understanding, even though there was some extensive discussion and a request by the majority of the Board of Selectmen to separate this document. It is being shoved down all of our throats as a whole document.
Okay, well, just so you know, I will campaign against it in its present form because it's all
I've
in
been
one
doing it
piece.
until I'm blue in the face, Val, till I'm blue in the face.
Okay, just so you know.
Prior to us taking on short-term rentals, we were working on the renewable energy documents. We remember we were working on the solar farms, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if you want to
Do we
revisit
know
that
what
as
those
well.
were?
I think it kind of stalled. At the time, it was just you, Donnie, and Scott, and I think it stalled out between the three of you and Bailey.
Oh, I can't tell.
So,
Yeah.
Is that where you were headed, Scott? You wanted to bring up the old?
I was
Perfect.
gonna say, we never finished that one.
Okay, and that was the renewable energies, or was that broken into kind of the solar farms and wind, and did we have it as?
it was.
It was sort of I think Marty's right, it sort of stalled. We were looking at it and it just, we never really got much done with it. And, you know, I think it should be readdressed because it's, yeah, it's one of those things that's becoming more and more out there, you know,
Right.
an issue. So rather than reacting, we should be proactive and say, okay, what do we think should be in our community? So-
Absolutely, absolutely. But my understanding was we were looking at it in almost separate documents. Was it a reusable energy ordinance, or had we broken it out and one was wind and one was solar and one was?
I don't remember. We had some discussion
Yeah,
on
see.
that, and I
Yeah.
think originally it was all one.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think when I came into it, it was all one. But I might have missed it being split.
Perfect.
There may have been something.
So since that was already a directive, I would like to pick that back up.
Okay.
Okay.
I will look and see what I can find
Where
from
we
Bailey's
were.
office of what work was done. Scott, if you have anything from when you were doing that, if you would send it to me, I would really appreciate that.
Okay. Let me make note and I'll check my records.
Thank you
Perfect.
so much.
And Val, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to cut. Did you have any other suggestions other than what appears to be kind of, it looks like the majority of yours are suggested changes to the land use ordinance. It seems like everything you hit on does, the actionable strategies seem to be amendments to the land use ordinances.
The only other thing would be on the very first page, and it really isn't something I think we should work on. It says protect to greatest extent practicable the significant historic and archaeologic resources in the community. And I think the first part of that should be, we should ask the Historical Society or something to decide what those things should be. I mean, it's not something that we should be deciding. What are those things? We can decide what to do with them once somebody gives us a list, but we're not the people to decide what's archaeological or historical.
Right, and in the action strategy, it does say, and information provided by the Maine Historic Preservation Commission. So maybe we include our local
Our
preservation.
local
Commission.
historic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the Maine state knows anything about us.
Perfect. Okay, and Scott, sorry, I came to you for the renewable energy one. Did you have any additional ones that you think we?
No, I mean, I think Val makes a good point, and I didn't mean to be contentious, Val. It's just, I've been looking at houses myself, so I know 600 is not real big, but neither here nor there. But I was under the impression that this was all going to be redone at some point. I mean, this was given to us a while ago, and we haven't done much with it the last 2 or 3 years, and now they're in the process of redoing it again. So my only concern is, are we doing things which in the new plan are not going to be there?
No, and I can say that with almost a huge level of certainty. When comprehensive plans are reviewed, the only thing they tend to do is give you more to do. They don't take away anything that was suggested in the originals.
That's fine. I just, like I said, I just didn't want to spend time doing something and
No,
then
it
find
is-
out that, oh, hey, that doesn't matter anymore.
No, completely understand. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Scott and Val. Nancy, did you have any suggestions?
Just the snowmobile one, I think, page 12, the maintain a connectivity of the snowmobile trail system is, and to Val's point, is that the club? Is that the town? Is that involves obviously the plantations, that involves a lot. So, is that us really, or who is that?
So you'll notice under the action strategy, the great thing about this plan is it gives you suggestions on how we can address it. Because this is only the Rangeley Comprehensive Plan, we have no authority over the surrounding plantations. So you'll notice that it says prepare amendments to land use ordinances, which is why I brought up that language when I said that everything Val has pointed out looks like it's very specifically driven to suggested land use changes. So this, in order to do this suggested task, they are suggesting land use ordinance changes as necessary to include provisions encouraging new development that will retain recreational opportunities, including snowmobile trips. Now, how we go about doing that, it does propose an interesting directive for either us or the planning board. I mean, it looks like it's sitting on both of us to
Yes.
do that.
Mm-hmm.
So any suggestions on how that could be implemented into the land use ordinance?
Shame that Lee's not here since he's
I
president.
know, since he's the president of the snowmobile club.
I do have one other thing that Joe mentioned, was at some point, perhaps the ordinance committee revisiting the ordinances that are already in place to see what needs to be updated or renewed.
Okay.
I know that he mentioned specifically there was something in the recycling
Okay.
ordinance that is outdated.
Okay.
So there may be something that we need to do with some codification of those
Perfect.
ordinances.
Okay.
That was something he mentioned, so.
Okay. And I kind of like that idea. I mean, to just take maybe, depending on the size of them, to
Just
take
start
one or
with
two.
chapter
Yeah,
one
to
and-
take one or two at each meeting and just kind of do a quick revision of each. I mean, we are the ordinance committee, so that is on us. So we can just ask if they would like us to just do kind of this strategic review through what's already in place, what's already enacted. Does that sound like a plan? Anybody in opposition of it?
No, it sounds good.
Yeah. One quick question, Etna.
Yeah.
What about the cell phone? Did we ever finish with that one? I'm trying to remember. That was one we were doing probably 2-3 years back.
Yeah, see, I thought I remembered, for some reason, I know we said renewable energy, but for some reason I thought they were floating around in different pieces at one point. I knew we had the cell phone tower, and I thought we had the wind one, and I thought we had the solar farm, and I thought the wind and solar were separate for some reason, but that's great if they're in renewable energy. I'm so happy about it. And then I believe the cell tower one was one that, or almost positive we
That
were
was
working on.
before my time. I can
Yeah.
tell you that was before my time, but I will definitely.
If
look
you
into that
can
as
look
well.
into how far that
Absolutely.
went, and where that's sitting, and if they really think we need to continue
Yes, ma'am.
pursuing that one, that would be great. Because that was a directive, so if it's something we let fall.
I think
Right.
other things got pushed forward.
Yes.
more than
Here,
they got
take this one
solved.
first.
Yeah, do this
Take it
now,
first.
now.
Okay. And Nancy, was there any other suggestions that you had?
Well, there are just a couple that, I mean, I think Val's question about the square footage would probably have to be addressed before we went to other ones about the character of Rangeley and the safety and that kind of stuff. It's all going to decide on what are they going to allow as a structural square footage, you know, is it per floor, 2 floors, whatever, and then go into some of these others, because it's almost like a domino. You can't do one without the other.
Okay, perfect. And then Val, are you in the position where you would like to bring that up at tonight's meeting? As a suggestion? Or as I want to follow up on the conversation that I understand you had about tiny houses type?
Yeah, I mean,
Perfect.
that's what the new bunch of young people are looking for, because if they can afford it, they cannot have debt. And that's sort of popular now. And obviously it's a lot less expensive than a regular house.
Perfect, okay. Just because I don't want that, I mean, with them pushing, you know, with chapter 28,
38.
38, that's where that's where that language is gonna sit.
Is the workshop tonight?
Yes, ma'am.
No, I know that, but is it the same thing like last week with the lawyer?
Yes, that's correct.
Is the lawyer attending tonight?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And I believe. going off of memory, so I could be incorrect, I believe that they were discussing the tiny houses and stated that at 400 square foot. But that's
Okay.
going off of memory, not,
Yeah,
and I'm just kind of glancing through here.
yeah, and how many
See it.
meetings are you the secretary to? Yeah, good
I've
luck.
been at both workshops, so,
Good luck remembering exactly what they said.
yeah, as much as.
No, thank you for that information though. So you believe they did
I
have
believe
discussions
they
about
did
400 square
discuss
feet?
that as 400 square foot for tiny houses.
Okay,
I just can't find where Kristen made that change.
Okay.
Here.
Are we about finished? I don't want to rush, but I have another meeting I have to get to.
no, I think unless anybody else had any additional information, I think that we're done with the ordinance committee because we really have nothing tasked in front of us tonight. And then I would like to give everybody who is going to attend the 6 o'clock one, kind of a half an hour breather here to go ahead and get collected and then come back for the meeting. Thank you so much. I appreciate when you can zoom in. That's great. Unless there's anything else.
Motion, we
I wait.
adjourn.
Move we adjourn, but I have a question.
I got a motion from Scott and second.
Yes,
All those in favor? Thank you so much.
thank you. I have a question though,
Question.
about the workshop, which is for the